Welcome to the iGamingCare podcast. Safer gambling, smarter choices. Weekly expert-led podcasts from iGamingCare.
Hello, Steven. Welcome to our podcast.
Good
It's
morning.
a great pleasure having you here. And a minute ago, I asked for the pronunciation of your name.
Yes,
It's Steven Vrolijk. Is that correct?
it is correct. Steven Vrolijk in German or Steven Happy in English.
Yeah, that's lovely. How can you start a conversation better than with such a name?
Yeah,
You have an interesting career path. You are the founder of XY Legal Solutions, and you are the managing director. You are the founder of QMRA, which we will touch upon, and you are a master of laws. We talk about the gaming industry. So one could expect a master of law not inside the industry, but controlling the industry from the outside. So tell us a bit about yourself. How did you end up in this industry? Why did you choose to come here?
okay. That will take us years back, actually, to the time I was studying law. When I was a student, it was a very good job to make money on writing content, on copywriting.
Mhm.
And I got to know some iGaming affiliates through a platform. I think it was called Text Broker, and it was simply paid by the word. And I got to talk to one of those affiliates, and he was very specifically interested in my legal background. And he said, okay, there are a lot of things going on with affiliates in relation to the casinos they work with in terms of unfair terms, taking out commissions, untagging, things like that. And he was very interested in hearing legal perspectives about that. And at that point, I decided to start following the gambling legislation. And it was about to go into effect in the Netherlands in 2019, February 2019, I think. The Dutch Senate approved for the online gambling legislation in the Netherlands. And we sort of at the same time founded the company XY Legal Solutions. The company XY Legal Solutions was founded with friends of mine who already owned a marketing company, and they wanted to build a full service company with a marketing agency, legal agency, a web design, a recruitment, finance. So legal was the first one to join after marketing. And I was very, very interested in the iGaming industry. And over the years, I started following where is it going? When will the legislation in the Netherlands go into effect? And in 2020, there were finally some real plans of going live with the online gambling legislation. And we decided to officially focus our services on that. So with XY Legal Solutions, we started assisting operators doing license applications. And in those license applications, there's the marketing policy. And we were always asking, okay, do you plan to work with affiliates or not? And we got a lot of responses of the operators saying, no, we don't trust affiliates. They're cowboys. And this was actually the stance of the Dutch Gambling Authority at the time as well. And we were like, okay, well, but we do know a lot of affiliates who are actually pretty stand-up guys who are waiting for the legislation to go into effect. We don't agree with the fact they're cowboys. We don't think so. And well, in some time after that, I had a lot of chats with Frank from Casino News, with Martin from Meneer Casino, and from the guys from OneTime.nl. We were like, okay, we should have a quality mark for affiliates. It's important to stand out in a positive way. And basically they all pointed at me and said, yeah, well, you are the owner of a legal company. You should do it. And I was a bit reluctant. And at some point I said, okay, let's do it. This is going to give us a lot of headache, but we're still going to try it. And fast forward, it turned into a big success in the Netherlands. And that led us to think, okay, this might be a big success internationally as well.
Thank you for that elaborate introduction. Always good to know who is in the podcast. And actually, we are business partners.
Yeah.
Because I work for iGaming.com, and we have recently signed an agreement that we will work with QMRA. You already outlined what affiliates are looking for. You mentioned it, straight guys. Every one of them is in a shady position. So we also work on our reputation. For us, it's important to deliver solid, transparent, trustworthy information. That's our currency on the internet. As an affiliate, we have to rank with Google. We have to deliver good content, and whatever we deliver should be correct. So for us and others, of course, it's interesting to have this QMRA stamp like you would get from auditors. And I would love to hear from you for our audience. How do you check if an affiliate is compliant? What kind of procedures are done? And we don't need to know the technical details, but the concept. So what is the overall idea that distinguishes an affiliate who gets your check mark from one who might be refused?
Yeah, interesting, because actually iGaming.com was already a member of our Dutch quality mark, KVA,
Yes.
before joining QMRA. And I think that's a nice starting point, is that in the Netherlands, we started KVA to make sure that affiliates would, look good in the eyes of operators and the gambling authority. And the first thing we did was we looked through all the gambling legislation related to the Netherlands, and we took out every part that is interesting or mandatory for affiliates. And based on that, we create a code. So when we started QMRA, you can imagine, if you're Dutch, you know the Dutch legislation, you're into the Dutch gambling industry, but how would you ever know everything about other markets as well? And there's a funny detail about this, is that at some point we were contacted by a large affiliate company some years back, who requested us to actually create guidelines, compliance guidelines for all markets they were active in. And they were active in a lot of markets. So we started creating those guidelines, and we actually, fair to say, we got paid to do research, which we are now benefiting from. And that was a great lesson, because in this way we already knew where to look. So what happens is we look at a specific country, we take out what is actually mandatory for the affiliate, and then we take out some other parts which we think is very important. For instance, in the Netherlands, you don't have to have a responsible gambling page if you're an affiliate, but KVA requests it. And the same we do with QMRA. And then I think what's the most important part of our work is that it's real life checks. So a real legal expert, a real compliance officer, will really sit down, take a good look at the website, look at the compliance code for the country which the website is active in, and then write feedback. And then it's also not black and white. Okay, you just get a stamp, it's not approved, and then it's done. No, we really, if the affiliate is really serious about joining us, then we will even do more feedback rounds if needed. We will explain to them, okay, why would you need to change that? And in some cases, of course, affiliates say, okay, we're not going to do this. Okay, then you cannot become a member.
Yeah, you are touching an interesting point. It's the complexity of compliance when you run a global organization.
Yeah.
When I talk to, let's say, friends and family, many of them think, yeah, there's an advertisement somewhere on the internet or a banner, and that's it. But you have to have a legal team, you have to have a compliance team, you have to stay always abreast with the latest regulation. It's vital for the company. In many countries, it's also a personal risk for the managing directors of the company if you do not follow the rules. And I'm very often surprised when people think it's so simple. You just have a design team that creates something, and then miraculously this will turn into revenues for you. What I hear from you underlines it, that it's a complicated matter. And at the same time, I have the feeling that we have countries that have regulated a lot in depth, that have a strong gambling commission that also follows up, like the police who gives you a speeding ticket. You get a fine if you don't obey.
Yeah.
And other countries, it's a little bit like cowboys in the Wild West, where there's mildly said more freedom, less enforcement, and a more open regulation. So how do you see that? Do you also see these differences? Overall, my feeling is regulation is coming more and more in more countries, and it gets stricter and stricter. I'd be interested in hearing your views. Is that everywhere, or do we have, let's say, white spots on the map where there's no regulation? Does that exist still?
Yeah. And I think we might touch on this point somewhere along the line, but maybe first I'm very interested to hear, because just put it simply, if you would start promoting unregulated casinos as an affiliate company like iGaming.com, with the infrastructure you guys have, with the specialties, web design, content creation, you could maybe triple your revenue or more. And choosing to not do that and to make the specific decision to work within the lines of the law, which creates another set of costs, because you have to have a compliance team. You have to, well, at some point, maybe have a quality mark. But just quick question, what's the decision behind that? I'm very interested because...
So first of all, it's actually a decision, in my opinion, because we advertise online gambling operators, and the internet is practically pretty borderless. So if you pick a jurisdiction somewhere, you can do a lot, put it that way. And we have decided not to do that. For us, that means a substantial portion of business is excluded. We cannot do it. But for us, it's an ethical matter. We obey laws and rules. And our question is it legal or not? Our question is not, can we get away with it? Probably, and you see when you see the huge portion of the black markets in some areas, especially Germany, where I am based, percentages are discussed. Maybe 70% is black, maybe 50, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
And do you ever hear that somebody goes to jail, is seriously fined, or that something is effectively stopped? Not really. So let's assume it's possible. And I personally appreciate that we have a strict policy that we do not do things that are not legal. We are not martyrs. For us, we have to make money. Strongly believe that in the long run, there is enough legal business. So we're not afraid. We have a different clientele. You do not have people who play for huge amounts of money in the legal market. They can't technically.
No.
There's
Yeah.
rules. But we are happy with those that we advertise for, and we invest into player protection. That's in the end, that's the currency that we have. It's trust, player protection, and visibility. So we do not have to hide in a Caribbean island. We can show our names. We can do podcasts.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
many operators who are, let's say, on the dark side of the force can't do that, and we don't work.
Peace of mind as well.
Yes, actually, that is also important. If you don't want to think of people who do the shady stuff, try to get away with it, and then maybe the hands are shaking when they present their passports at border control. We should not do that. Not for me personally, and not for any single of our employees. We just don't.
Yeah. No, I totally agree, and it's even then we dive a bit deeper into the dark side of the iGaming industry. But at some point, I got a warning. I was warned by someone in the industry. Okay, you're publishing a lot of reports, naming a lot of illegal gambling websites. It's not really good for them, but they don't really seem to care. But the warning was, well, you should be very careful in naming names. And those people are, as I was told, not really afraid of the authorities. Like you said, they're not really afraid because not really a jail sentence. The fines, they just ignore it. They're actually scared of the people who they, how can I put this in a neat way? Who they screwed over in their casinos. So they're actually afraid of players. And I think, okay, that alone should be a very good reason to just work within the boundaries of the law, because you're giving people a bad feeling, you're making them angry, you're taking money from them in a strange way. Well, yeah. So ethically and peace of mind wise, yeah.
First of all, I could not agree more. I'm always a bit concerned when I hear about the reputation of the industry. People I meet, at least in this industry, they are not sitting in a smoke-filled room behind a bar. They are proper business people. You have just mentioned that you are a father of two. I also have a family.
Yeah.
And I think we build houses, we pay tax, and we have family and are caring people.
Yeah.
I'm sometimes a bit disappointed when you see this gap between people who say we want to protect players, and on the other hand, this feeling that everyone in the industry has to be closely monitored because there's always this tendency that they do bad stuff.
Mhm.
For me, we both post a little bit in social media. I remember when I made a comment where I said, well, we should all work together. It's the regulator, it's the behavioral scientists, the psychologists, all these institutions who protect, and us, the industry.
Mhm.
The shitstorm was heavy. No, not the industry.
Yeah.
These are the bad guys. So
Yeah.
maybe they did not check my profile, but it was interesting to read that so many people who are in the epicenter of what is happening in the mind of others who look at it from more the outside are excluded.
Mhm.
That's a super interesting debate I have so often.
And I think that the question you initially asked before we drifted away was, do you see differences in the markets you're active in?
Mm.
Well, the one that came to mind right now was we're not active there because the market is not regulated yet, but it's Finland.
Yes.
And if I'm going, so first of all, I've attended a lot of international conferences, and I always notice how people who are from a certain market, they're talking about the international game market, and they will always touch base with their experiences from their own country.
Mhm.
I'm not so different because this is just what happens every day for us. But in the Netherlands, and I think KVA played a huge role in this, the status of affiliates is actually becoming pretty good. We're actually, well, yeah, we're working together with the government as well. So KVA is part of the alliance which combats illegal operators, illegal affiliates. We have frequent calls. We deliver reports. We assist them in explaining Google what to do. And in the Netherlands, at this point, while the standpoint first was, okay, affiliates are cowboys, this is changing very much. And we are actually, they're looking at us like, okay, these are the guys that are actually channeling players to legal offering, and they are helping us to try and combat the illegal market. And then you look at Finland, and Finland just threw up. Yeah, they said, okay, no, we're not going to. We're going to forbid affiliates. We don't want them here. We don't trust it. The only thing they want is to make money on players, and that's something I cannot understand. And then of course, we're trying to do anything to get in touch with the Finnish government and to explain to them how the situation actually works from our point of view. But I think that's a very big difference. Working together, industry, government, and even healthcare professionals, I think that's very important. And I think in the Netherlands, we're really starting to do that. And I think in other countries, it's not happening at all. Maybe a question to you. Do you feel, for instance, the German government is taking your point of view more serious? Are they open to discussion?
First of all, yes, they are open for discussion. So I have enjoyed multiple occasions where I had enough time, also one-on-one, to talk to the senior executives of our regulator. An extremely good understanding of the market, no doubt about that. But decision making in politics, especially when you're a federal country like us with
Yeah.
16 states that only meet twice a year or so, things are slow and there are different interests. So you usually end up in some kind of political compromise. So I would say, yes, the communication is there and the openness of discussion is amazing from both ends. So maybe that changes a little bit depending on how big the round is you talk in, but that's natural. From my point of view, the weakness of Germany and the regulation is I'm German, so we always want to have 110% solution.
Yeah.
So if we start regulating, we regulate everything. And what gets forgotten, in my opinion, is that more than half of the market is not regulated at all because people play outside of the regulated sphere. And the biggest chance, in my opinion, is to know your friends and foes. So when you can only make money from affiliates who are legal, we are a legal affiliate. We can only make money from operators that are legal.
Yes.
So we have a common interest to protect the legal section of the market and grow it. And I think there are strengths that come from the legislator, but there are also strengths that come from inside the market. So I strongly believe teaming up is super important because those who are regulated in the legal market have an interest to keep it clean.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that is super interesting. It's a bit of a dilemma, not easy to answer, but in my opinion, a big chance for, let's say, the good guys to team up.
Yeah. I think it's exactly that.
So do you, when you are in different countries, do you see vastly different situations in regulation? So by the countries we live in, we can both very well cover the Netherlands and Germany, but you are, like us, operating more global. Do you see differences in the attitude of people towards gambling, in the way regulators approach it, the level of cooperation or confrontation? So what are your impressions all over?
I think the first one that comes to mind is that there are some countries which are just not built for gambling.
Uh-huh.
And I strongly believe, again, Germany and the Netherlands are possibly countries that are not really built for gambling.
Uh-huh.
If you look at the UK, that's a country where gambling is pretty much inherent to their legacy, to their history, going to the horse races, dressing up nicely. Of course, very, very wrong things were done, of course, in the past as well with fighting dogs against each other, but it was always gambling. It's fine. I think Australia is the same.
Uh-huh.
But even in those countries where gambling is widely accepted, you see if legislation is becoming more strict. And so that's something I think it's happening all over. And then another interesting thing is, of course, the way gambling is regulated. Well, for instance, Germany is a federation, and then you have various states, and I think they try to centralize it 21 as well, but it's still much more difficult, I think, than having just one central way of coping with the gambling legislation. And the United States, of course, where there are 50 some states and they all have different laws, and they're allowed to have different laws. So that's very interesting. It's also interesting to see that a lot of countries do not have a specific gambling authority. For instance, in some countries, there's just a small portion of the justice department that works on the gambling portfolio, or the finance department. So overall, and then again, that's there's one other point. It's not always one clear gambling act. Sometimes it's just a small bit of law there, and then there's some regulations here. So it's not always very, very centralized. So that's difficult. But the overall feeling is that every country, even countries where gambling is more widely accepted, I believe those countries are regulating more and more strictly.
Yeah. So you're talking about this geographical situation
Yeah.
where in the US we have about a handful of states where online casino is legal. We probably have half the states where sports betting is legal. And I personally, I've recently spent some holidays in the US. Personally, I don't really gamble, but it's just a weird thought. So you're driving on an interstate, you cross a border, and suddenly gambling is legal. You go 2 miles back, it's illegal. And we will have the same situation in Germany because some of our federal states are in the process of allowing online casino table games. In others not, and it depends on where you reside. 2 kilometers make a difference if for you personally playing casino online is legal or not legal. And I'm not a digital native, but for me it's weird that in times of VPN and internet we are trying to make geographical boundaries within a country for gambling regulation. And we don't have it active yet, but I wonder how this will happen. So, and the Netherlands is a little bit smaller, so this part is less complicated. But again, we will have very interesting rules and law enforcement. So let's see how that goes in our country.
Yeah, but and you were talking about your holidays to the United States, and I've been there in 21, I think, holiday as well. Then I was in Florida, and we were driving, and at some point we drove into a Indian reservation, and all of a sudden there was a huge casino there.
Yes.
And I knew about the Indian casinos, everybody knows it. It's in films and series and stuff. But I was so very interested, so I started talking to some people who work there and asked them, okay, but so you're really allowed to do this? And yes, we're allowed to. And well, I think that's the most extreme thing going on in regulating gambling. It's just great way of doing so, but it's becoming problematic for the international industry as well. As you know, have Indian reservations. I don't believe they're in the US, but in Canada, like the Kanawaka reservation, who are providing gambling licenses. So that's international gambling licenses. And I'm always wondering, why do those unregulated casinos, why do they even apply for any license? Why do they even care?
That is also a question for me. So when I look at it from a German-centric point of view, unless you have a German license, you are illegal.
Yeah.
So if you have a Malta license, a Dutch license, or an American license, Canadian, whatever, it's illegal. And the interesting thing is, when you operate gambling from outside of Germany, there's a high likelihood that only the player commits a crime who lives in Germany and participates in illegal gambling. So interesting, but there are so many things I find contradictory on the regulatory and legal side. One of the craziest for me is the famous Bill 55 that we have on Malta. So maybe for those who are not so much into it. So if for whatever reason you sue an operator and even win a lawsuit in your country, there is, I simplify, a law in Malta that says we don't apply it.
Yeah. They're
so
protected.
We don't care about European law, which I find in the 21st century is that interesting.
It's very interesting, because if you look at how the MGA was handling things a couple of years back, I think there was even an official understanding with the Dutch Gambling Authority. Okay, we're going to work together to make things better. And then there's Bill 55. But again, why would a casino that does not care about the law, why would they apply for any license? And I believe, as far as I can know these type of things, because I'm not an operator, but maybe you need that license to work with payment providers, to work with the providers for games.
Yeah, so I agree to that. So the most powerful action of operators, in my opinion, is cutting off the payment providers.
Yeah.
So I think IP blocking and so on is a tough cookie. It's also a matter of, is it censorship? Should we allow that just websites are taken down? But cutting off payment providers works. And for payment providers, I would say working with someone who has no license at all
does not really look very good. Yeah.
Yes. So that of course, that is helpful.
Yeah. No, but I think you're very, very right there, because some time back there was some meeting, and there was someone who used to work for the unregulated market and was now working for the regulated market. And he said, we can look at the internet hosting providers, we can look at marketing, and it's all a problem, and we need to do something about all of it. But he said that the most basic way the decision was made to either enter a country unregulated or not was, can we bring money from A to B? And if they cannot, they will not go to that country.
Exactly. So that works. But now we have talked about all the illegalities.
Yeah.
We almost touched money laundering.
Yeah.
But I would like to look into one thing that is all across the industry right now, that is AI. So in the good old days, in the very good old days, you bought some backlinks, you printed the keyword 100 times, white ink with a white background on your website, and that was also search engine optimization.
Yeah,
Decades
place
ago.
it in the footer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we have AI. When people Google something, they often don't even get a website as a result. They get an AI generated answer. And I wonder how this affects what QMRA is doing. So I guess you are also in the middle of it, like us. We have content written by AI, edited by AI, analyzed by
Yeah.
AI,
Yeah.
processes optimized. So, in my opinion, it unhinges the world right now.
Yeah, it does.
Do you see that as well in your section of the business?
Yeah. And I think for starters, AI is very much depending on high quality content. So, of course, Google was already shifting its way of evaluating websites when doing core updates or just regular updates on the EEAT perspective. So they were looking at, is this a trustworthy website? Can we really see some expertise here? Is the website distincting from other websites? Is it real information? You have some iGaming affiliate websites who are aligning perfectly with that EEAT strategy. But now there's AI. And if you, for instance, if you go to ChatGPT and you fill out, give me the top 10 best casinos in Germany, they will roll out an answer and they
Yes.
will provide sources as well. And of course, the conversion rate of the clicks that go through those sources then to your website, it's much lower. But AI is really, really in need of high quality websites. And that's no difference, I think, for affiliate websites, for iGaming affiliate websites. But as an iGaming affiliate, you are already under the loop. It's the what was it called? Like your money or your life niche, the niche where you're providing content on healthcare, crypto, gambling. And I think compliance, trustworthiness is becoming so much more important with AI coming up and with Google's new strategy on doing core updates, like the last one where they were really I said they're looking at EEAT signals, but then you see a lot of illegal operators popping up in the results. So it's not really waterproof, but trustworthiness, quality marks, real compliance checks, explanations on why is your website compliant. That's important for, I think, AI indexation as well as search engine indexation. So we
Yes,
see some opportunities. Yeah.
absolutely agree. For us, I see a shift that it's more and more important to really have top quality content.
Yes.
So it's not we write 3,000 words and we only look what Google might like. It's more what will the user like.
Yeah.
To be super specific, because there is big competition. And the biggest competition is print or online media
Yeah.
that in licensed markets can do direct advertising. And when you have a gray or black market, you can't.
Yes.
That, of course, shows why, especially for affiliates, the black market is economically attractive, of course,
Yeah.
but morally unacceptable. And also legally in terms of corporate risk and compliance. You just can't do it. I'd say even more so than other affiliates, the competitor of a legal affiliate is the yellow press. It's the newspapers who have banners or where you are just one click away from placing a bet or playing a slot. And how can you stand out? You have to provide extremely good content that people want to read. You have to combine it with a bit of entertainment so that people enjoy being on your website and then convert and click and go to an operator. So we just make a colorful, flashy website and hope that somebody converts just doesn't do the trick, because you have a hard time ranking against a renowned news magazine, for example. And it seems they are all open for this industry right now. So it's not this bad taste. We are a tier one newspaper with a feuilleton and intellectual columns. No, they are all into it. Where the money is, the media is.
Yeah, no, exactly. But so the following, I think is very interesting. Google seems to more and more, like you said, the real gambling niche affiliates, they're very strict on them. So they get punished a lot. When there's a Google core update, the chances of losing a lot of traffic, those are real chances. So it's important to have more of those websites to make sure you cover that, to hedge it. But, I have just a funny example. We have a legal blog website. We just set it up under XY Legal Solutions some years back. Everybody from my team has to contribute once in a while. And we wrote one article for the Dutch online gambling industry. And this article immediately ranked on the first page on a very, very difficult keyword.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes you wonder, like Google, okay, they are starting to appreciate websites that are not only gambling focused anymore.
Yes.
So what can you do? What would be something that you guys would do?
So first of all, we still stick to gambling content,
Yeah.
but we go more into or even more into a data-driven approach. We try to provide facts. We gather facts, and this doesn't come free. So it's an investment for affiliates. So that is an added value that potential players will find with us. And we try to combine personality and data. So we believe, yes, there are players who love reading statistics, return to player things, but there are also others. For me, it's the family father like you who maybe between two pairs of diapers needs a break, and you decide to gamble a little bit. You will probably not do half an hour of research. You will just play. Maybe say I put 20 euros on the stake, and when it's gone, entertainment is paid. That's it.
Yeah.
So, and for those, we think we have to keep it simple, like tip of the day. If you want to play, do that. It's safe and recommended by one of our ambitious players. And for the others who want to have more detailed information, we provide that as well. And it's still walking a thin line between catering for Google that you rank and catering for the person. So there's a lot of information that hardly ever anyone will read, but you need it in order to rank with the keywords. And as it looks today, interestingly, it doesn't really make a big difference if you try to rank for AI generated answers or for the classic Google answer with the website as a result. So the algorithms operate pretty much the same. Don't quote me on that. There are SEO experts who, of course, see a difference. But all in all, it's still the same game. If you have Google updates, you either hit or are benefit, or hit or you benefit, generated or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the game. My concerns are a bit different. Will there still be human beings searching? Will we make an educated decision, or will my personal AI chatbot directly dial in for me into a casino, thinking this is what Andreas or Steven would prefer, so that the complete process of selection is automated?
Yeah.
If then the bot clicks autoplay in jurisdictions where that's legal and the money is taken from my bank account, then we are there. I hope that will take some time.
I think that's a real concern. Yes, of course. It's I even catch myself on using AI a lot for simple research, where I used to do a lot of Googling. I'm very interested in a wide range of things. At some point, I wanted to know how fast can a Concorde fly, and this used to be something I Googled it, and then this page says this, and this one says that, and this one looks like the best source one. So okay, I believe this answer. And now you put your question in AI, and if it's okay, if it resembles something you will accept as an answer, then it's fine. And sometimes you think, okay, this is more work related, so okay, this is a good starting point, and now I'm going to double check the facts. But I think anyone, however intelligent you are, I think everyone is going to be more and more steered by AI making their decisions.
Absolutely, I agree. And I also catch myself when I Google, not with ChatGPT, but just Google, I start writing questions instead of what you just do, write 3 words and hope it finds it. So you're already taking this behavioral pattern that you have learned with ChatGPT. So I think on the consumer side, the changes will be tremendous.
Yeah. But again, on the other hand, AI machines from Google or OpenAI or Claude or whatever, they will all need high quality content, or they have nothing to feed from, or they will have to
Yes, but that to me is also a point of concern.
Yeah.
When bots write the content,
Yeah.
they crawl the internet and copy from other bots. So for me, it's a question of time until we desperately look for real people who write something
Yeah.
with their face and name for trust, for personality. And I like to compare it to a book. So I still believe if you are in a bookshop, you buy a book because you have read something from the author and say, probably the next one is also good. I cannot imagine that we will have an AI author and say, this machine wrote a book, I want to have the next
You
one.
need to read
But I'm not Gen Z, so they don't read books maybe,
Wow.
but it will change dramatically.
Yeah. No, but
And
I think that's
we might have this desire to have this nostalgic feeling like at a campfire, that this is the home on the internet that is created where you find real people, not only information generated by AI.
and I think there's even another catch to this. We hire a lot of interns, and we have been doing so since the start of the company. At some point, we had 4 interns at the same time, and this was before AI boomed. It was, I think, we started doing this in 2019, and all the time the biggest problem was language. So the students coming to do their internship with our company, language was always a big problem, and we were doing everything we could to fix that. We hired tutors, we gave them extra lessons in Dutch and English and everything, and all of a sudden there was AI, and all of a sudden we received perfect motivational letters. And I'm really concerned that at some point we are going to have a generation that does not know how to write.
I could not agree more, and I'm full of fear.
Yeah.
I think when we met in person, I mentioned that I not only work in this industry,
Yeah.
but I'm also in academia. So I'm a professor, and I have recently supervised a couple of bachelor theses.
Yeah.
And for a university where the students have to write it in English, which is not their native language. And it was a pleasure to read that because it was pitch perfect English.
Yeah.
But the moment you read the second sentence, you know that none of the students has written it on his or her own. And you are really afraid that any of them has read the books and references that they have quoted and cited.
Yeah.
And I really see that we will probably have some super brains on the upper end of AI who manage the systems, but a lot of other people will be dumber after a few years of AI. Because look at ourselves. Do we ever pick a dictionary when we need a word, a synonym, or the spelling? Or when we are uncertain about grammar? No, all automated. And I cannot imagine that in a few years anyone writes a master thesis like you have probably written, really by hand and wording it on your own. And that also means, will people care if things are human written or not, how the content is generated? So there are super exciting times ahead how that will all go. I think the industrial revolution will be nothing against what can happen with AI if that thing flies.
I couldn't agree more. But again, if you were to look at opportunities, I think there are still opportunities for people who actually are able to write, who are good writers, good researchers. Even if the whole iGaming industry collapses, even if everything goes down, then still, if you know how to write, to do some good research, you can apply for a job at OpenAI.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, but it's concerning, and it's also, it feels a bit lazy at some point. It's not always generating the content. So what we do accept sometimes is that we say, okay, to an intern, you write it in your own words, and then you use AI to give feedback on your spelling. That we can accept, but I'm not sure. Maybe they just throw it in and say, okay, write this again, but now perfectly.
Yeah, make a few mistakes for Steven. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, make 2 or 3 mistakes, so he thinks I'm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have talked about a lot of things, and for almost about an hour. So I would like to close this discussion with 4 questions on the light side. So the first one is holidays, mountains or sea?
Mountains.
Okay, that's a clear one. Food, burgers or sushi?
Burgers. Yeah, or the Chianti dinner you presented at the Gaming in Holland conference.
Yes, absolutely. That's always a good choice.
Yeah.
And drinks, beer or wine or water?
Yeah, I would have to say beer. Yeah. But I think that would be your answer as well. Or maybe not, but German people
No,
do have the best
I
beers.
would say honestly, it depends. So when you have a nice dinner, a glass of wine is nice. And if you have 40 degrees outside, an ice cold glass of beer or water is
Yeah.
better. The last one, business decisions, numbers or instinct?
Numbers.
Okay.
And
Obviously,
I'm not trying to make it too serious again, but I think in the iGaming industry, we need more decisions based on numbers, not only from companies, but especially from the government. So it's,
I agree. I strongly believe facts help
facts.
make decisions. That's better than politics.
Yeah.
So I'm not a lawyer, but you have studied law. In Germany, we used to say looking into the law book sometimes helps finding a good verdict. So that's probably the
Yeah.
same for regulators, legislators, and us in the industry. Stephen, it was a great pleasure having you.
Yeah,
We
thank
did
you.
a roller coaster journey through different topics. Was perfectly okay for me.
Yeah.
And big thank you for joining. I hope to see you soon at a conference or anywhere. And looking forward to working with QMRA in Denmark. I think that's where we
Yeah.
are on the way.
Yeah. We're starting in Denmark. No, I even think the website was approved already. I think they already
Nice.
approved. Yeah.